In this episode, you'll discover why sex feels like one more thing on your to-do list. You know, between doing errands and making that grocery run. And you're about to find out that's not a you problem. No, ma'am, that is a filing error. Sexy After 50. Improve sex and intimacy by healing your nervous system so you finally feel turned on and confident. First, I want to talk about 2 reasons I need you to stay with me until the very end of this episode, please. First, you're going to learn the exact brain mechanism that turned sex from a craving into a task and why it happened without you even noticing. And second, you'll get a weekend practice for you and your partner that is a little bit forbidden, a lot of fun, and specifically engineered to unfile sex from the chore drawer. That rhymed. Okay, so before I kick into the meat of this episode, just a quick thing. This August 25th, I'm opening up my Alive program. It's Alive, 28 days to reclaim your desire. It's a guided experience to rebuild your capacity for pleasure, presence, desire. And if today lands, that's where we do the real work together over 4 weeks. So stay tuned on how to get into this first. All right, back to the meat. I want to start with why sex stopped feeling like a want and started feeling like a task. And we're going to revisit our good friend, Lisa Feldman Barrett. She's been on the show many times. And she's changed how we understand what the brain actually does. Your brain is not sitting there receiving the world fresh each moment. Girl, it's a prediction machine. Its number one job is running what Barrett calls your body budget, constantly deciding where to spend your energy and where to conserve it based on every past experience it has on file. And before anything ever happens, your brain has already predicted what it will cost you and what it will give you back. And it acts on that prediction. It's not acting on reality. So here's what happened to your sex life very quietly over the years. Every time sex came at the end of that depleting day. Every time it followed a fight, or arrived as an obligation, or felt like one more person needing one more thing from your body. Girl, your brain was taking notes. It was updating the file. And at some point, that file flipped and sex got recategorized from a source of pleasure and energy to a withdrawal from an already overdrawn body budget. Now, before your partner even touches you, your brain has run the prediction. This is going to cost me. And it braces. This is your solar plexus right here under your chest. And this is the deepest part of the misfile. Your solar plexus is the seat of will, duty, effort, and your ever-loving to-do list. It's the center you run for your entire day to day. I mean, that's the center everything is running from in your day to day. And when sex gets filed as a task, you start approaching it from your solar plexus, from duty and effort. And the same place you approach doing the dishes, you approach answering emails. But sex was never supposed to run through your duty center. It was supposed to run through your pleasure center. So, girl, you are not frigid. You're not done. You've just been unknowingly routing your sex life through the wrong department. And that department only knows how to do work. So here's the second piece. And this is the one that makes the whole thing click. What makes a chore a chore? Got you a riddle there. What makes a chore a chore? I'm picturing Dr. Seuss and all his little critters that he has answering this one. Well, what makes a chore is that it has a required outcome. The dishes aren't done until they're clean. The task isn't complete until the box is checked. And somewhere along the way, sex got a finish line too. It became something you complete. Was there an orgasm? Did he finish? Did we do the thing? The whole experience became goal-oriented, a task with a required output. And the second your brain frames anything as a task with an output, it recruits effort instead of pleasure to get it done. So your sacral center, and this is below your belly button, that's the seat of pleasure, sensuality, flow, and play. And here's the thing about your sacral chakra. And this knowledge changes everything. It does not operate on outcomes because it cannot. Pleasure is not a destination you arrive at. It's a state you sink into. And it only opens when there is nowhere you're trying to get to. The moment there's a finish line, you're back in your solar plexus, working toward completion, and the sacral center closes the door. This is why so many women tell me sex feels like a performance they're trying to get through. Because it's a chore. By definition, a chore is something you're trying to get to the end of. And you cannot sink into pleasure if you're labeling pleasure as a chore, because you're racing to complete a task. So the reason, sweet soul, the reason sex feels like a chore is not that your desire died and not that you stopped loving that amazing partner of yours. It's that sex became goal-oriented. Your brain filed goals under work, and work is one thing that guarantees pleasure stays locked out, which means the fix is not trying harder. It's the opposite of trying. It's removing the goal entirely. So hold that thought, because that's exactly what your weekend practice is going to do. But first, I've got a quick commercial. Stay with me. You want to hear this weekend practice. 2 seconds. This is the heart of my book, Are We Going to Have Sex or What? The full roadmap for getting your sex life out of the task drawer and back into pleasure, the science and practices together. Get it now. You can hop over to my website, juliemerrimanphd.com, and buy it there, or hop on over to Amazon. Wherever you go, just get it. And then drop me a review. I'd love to hear how it landed for you. Okay, back to your practice. But I want to give you one more piece of science before your practice. And this is the part that makes the weekend so fun. Neuroscientist, and we've met this person before, Jaak Panksepp, spent his career mapping the brain's core emotional systems. And he identified the one we called, what is it called? Y'all know, seeking. And that's the dopamine-driven engine of anticipation. Remember when you first got with your partner? Oh my God, that anticipation sex? With anticipation, the circuits that light up, they light up not when you get the thing, but when you're wanting the thing, moving toward the thing, imagining the thing. And Panksepp's crucial finding is that the juice of desire is in the anticipation, not the consumption. The wanting is the pleasure. The reach is the reward. And when sex becomes a chore, the seeking system goes completely dark because you can't anticipate a task. Nobody lies in bed all day tingling with anticipation about doing the laundry. Here's the beautiful problem this creates and how you exploit it. Your seeking system runs on novelty and, crucially, on a little bit of restraint. Anticipation needs a gap between the wanting and the having. And when sex is always available and always aimed at completion, girl, there's no gap, no delicious build, nothing to seek. The tension that feeds desire has been ironed flat. So the way you wake the seeking system back up is not more access. It's a little strategic denial, a gap, a forbidden edge. You reintroduce the weight, and the wanting comes roaring back to fill it. That's not a trick. That is your chakra system, specifically your root chakra of primal drive, feeding energy into your sacral chakra, your pleasure center, the way it's always been designed to. And your weekend practice is built to do exactly this. I'm really excited for y'all to get this weekend practice. So here it is. I want you to do this one because it's a little bit forbidden, and that, my friend, is the whole point. And I call it the detour, because you and your partner are going to take a detour that goes nowhere on purpose. So I need you to set aside 20 minutes this weekend. What? Yes, 20 simple minutes. Put the phone down. Don't scroll. Use that save time to do this. But here's the one rule that makes this work, and I'm asking you to honor it. You're not allowed to have intercourse. Nobody is allowed to finish. Orgasm is off the table, and this is on purpose, by agreement, in advance. I know. That's exactly the point. The second you remove the finish line, your brain cannot file this as a task because there's no output to complete. There's nowhere to get. What you've done is taken sex out of the chore drawer by removing the one thing that made it a chore. Now, inside that 20 minutes, hands and mouths are welcome. Slow touch, kissing like you used to before it became a transaction, exploring skin with actual curiosity instead of running the usual sequence. But every time either of you feels the pull toward more, toward finishing, toward the goal, you have to stop. You breathe, you stay in the wanting. That pull you feel, that little ache of not being allowed to have it, that is your seeking system firing back to life. That's the exact anticipation that's been ironed out of your marriage. You are feeding it on purpose. And before you begin, you take 5 slow breaths together with a hand on your low belly over your sacral center, telling your body there is nothing to accomplish here. And when the 20 minutes ends, you stop. Even if you don't want to, especially if you don't want to, because the wanting that follows you out of that room, the charge you carry into the rest of your week, that is the desire that is the desire that we are working towards coming back online. You didn't complete a task. You reopened a want. That is the whole reboot. And it started by doing less, not more. So let's land this plane. Here's what I want you to take into your week with you. First, your brain filed sex under work, and it did it based on years of sex arriving as depletion. So you now approach pleasure from your duty center instead of your pleasure center. And we're fixing that. Second, a chore has a finish line, and the finish line is the poison. The moment sex became something to complete, pleasure got locked out because pleasure has no destination. And third, desire lives in anticipation, not the completion, which means the way back is a little strategic restraint, a gap, a forbidden edge that wakes up the wanting. You're not too tired for sex, and girl, you have not lost that spark. You've been running an intimate act through the department of your brain that only knows how to do the work, that sacral center. That solar plexus center. So this weekend, you take the detour. You go nowhere on purpose and notice what wakes up when there's finally nothing to finish. That sacral center says, well, hello, and you soften. Okay, I am Dr. Jules. This is Sexy After 50. Go get gloriously, deliberately unfinished. Sexy After 50. Improve sex and intimacy by healing your nervous system so you finally feel turned on and confident.